Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Phenomenon, a paranormal podcast. This is Christina again.
And this is Anthony. How's it going, everyone?
And we are, glad to be back. We had a little hiatus last week. This pandemic tends to create a lot of turmoil, so forgive our 1 week absence, but here we are. And today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to be talking about some very popular urban legends in the Latino world.
Yeah, Latin American urban legends and myths. We wanted to do a top 5 of those because there's quite a lot of them, and so it's hard to narrow it down, but we have 5 really good ones that we think are both popular, and there's a couple that will make you kind of scratch your head going, where did this come from?
Exactly.
But we also have a second part to this episode, which will delve into the paranormal side of things, which is the Estes method. We thought we would take a look at doing an actual live and Estes method session with you guys. We'll explain what it is, what you guys can expect, and we'll show you what the paranormal investigators are doing these days.
Yeah, it's a really great investigative technique. We work with it ourselves, and it's a little, different than like seeing it happen live, but we're going to walk you through the process of it so you can kind of check it out. And
if you guys would like to watch like an actual live video of us doing this live in the future on maybe our Facebook or Instagram page, let us know.
Yeah, we're definitely down to do that.
Yeah, so
for right now, we're going to start with our Latin American urban legends, and the first one is, it's one of my favorites that really has intrigued me over the years, and I'm not sure if you have heard of it yourselves, but this is regarding La Pascualita. And the story of La Pascualita is very interesting. She is actually a store mannequin.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Sort of. She is in a little town, and she's in Chihuahua, Mexico. Has been there for over 80 years. And the legend, it has it that this mannequin is actually the preserved body of a young woman who died on her wedding day after being bitten by a black widow spider that was hiding in her gown. That's a sad enough story.
Yeah, that's really sad.
In and of itself. But some, think it's an urban legend, while others, like the store's employees, claim that the mannequin is the real deal.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to put links.
Yeah, we'll have a link to all these legends, and there are going to be some legends we don't talk about that you guys might find interesting, too.
Exactly.
But, there's some interesting detail that some of the store employees have got, right?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, when we, put this link in the description, all you have to do is pull it up and take a look at this mannequin to see that she is unlike any other mannequin that I've seen before.
Right.
Now, some people have even compared it to, say, some of the wax figures at Madame Tussauds as far as detail. However, the details in this particular mannequin they're unsettling.
Yeah.
For lack of a better way to put it. Now, she doesn't have some disfigured face or anything like that.
I highly recommend, once you read the article, look up images yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Because they don't show it here in the article, but her hands
are the things that get me the most, to be honest, because the detail on the hands, it isn't just like, oh, wow, they really look like hands. It's the vein structure, the wrinkles and lines in her fingers.
The knuckles themselves.
Oh, the knuckles. Alone. And there actually looks like there was fraying tissue around certain edges of her fingernails, and the fingernails look like actual nails.
Yeah.
That's very eerie. I can't imagine an artist having that much attention to detail and making a mannequin. Now, mind you, let's just think about that for a second. This is a mannequin in a store window.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't, something on display at a wax museum, or they're looking to really, create these, this realistic thing. This is a mannequin,
and it's the only one of its kind.
Exactly.
So you'd think if it was the store purposely making lifelike mannequins, why would it only be one? Why wouldn't all the other mannequins look just like this?
Exactly. And another nifty little detail here, as told by the store employees, is when they have to redress her, into a different gown, there are actually varicose veins in the legs.
Yikes. Wow.
Why would that be a detail to add to a mannequin?
Yeah, if they're not going to be looking at
the legs.
Yeah, at all, why would they need that?
Well, and if they were going to be looking at the legs, how many mannequins have you seen with varicose veins? I mean, it's just not something that you add.
That's the thing that gets me, because most of the time, I don't think many people care to see a mannequin that looks that lifelike when they're buying clothes, you know? So it's strange that it would look that realistic if it's not the preserved body, you know, if it's an actual mannequin. Why?
Exactly.
That's the question I have.
Yeah, I don't get that, especially, you know, considering if you dive even further into this story, not only do many people report her eyes following you as you walk throughout the store or past the storefront, there's also the little detail that she bears a striking resemblance to this bride in the legend that died on her wedding day that also was the original shop owner's daughter.
Right.
If you really take the photo of the daughter and look at it with this mannequin, there is a pretty good resemblance there.
It wouldn't shock me, considering everything we've seen in this day and age, if that was the case. Like, out of everything that you see in all these legends that we're to talk about today, that is probably one of the more believable, as outrageous as it seems, one of the more believable stories that you could imagine.
Right.
It's sad. I think that's the thing that I take away from it. It's not as scary as it is sad, because clearly someone felt such a great loss, they didn't want to let go of her, and they preserved her.
I agree.
You know? So...
Well, it's rumored now, in recent years, that the mannequin has actually been replaced by a copy.
Really?
And that was something that, in researching it, I saw on one YouTube video, that somebody reported that the current owner had lent the mannequin out to, I don't know if it was a museum, or something of that nature, for, you know, a temporary display, and that when she got it back, it wasn't the same one.
Okay.
So that's something interesting to think.
So if that's the case, where is she then?
And who would take it?
Yeah, for what reason?
Exactly.
Their own private collection or something else?
It's a little twisted, but yeah, maybe.
Or maybe she just walked off.
There you go. Freedom.
Right?
Someone brought her back to life and she's on her way.
Yeah.
So that's our first legend. Now, do you want to take the second one?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone is familiar with Latin American culture at all, this is a really famous one, so you won't be surprised that it's on our list. But we are talking about El Cuco. Now, this originally, the origins of this creature were from Spain or Portugal somewhere, and was kind of brought over to not only America, but the Latin American community in South America and everything. But El Cuco is known as a shapeless, faceless monster. Now, his big deal is kidnapping children.
Ooh, nice.
And like a lot of cryptids that you hear myths and legends about, there are a lot of monsters like El Cuco who, for some reason, like to eat children. And I think you can see where this is going to come from, because they say a lot of parents told this story to their children at a very young age. And I think it's very evident that it's probably a parenting tool to, for misbehaving children, or children who didn't want to listen when it's time to go to bed or to do something. They would say, El Cuco's going to come and get you. Apparently, the parents tell the kids that El Cuco has a special taste for kids who don't want to go to sleep. So that's the funny thing about that is it feels like it's counterintuitive to what they're trying to do, because they want the kid to go to sleep, but yet they're going to tell these kids that this demonic monster is going to come eat them if they don't go to sleep.
Right.
And so that's going to be on their minds the whole time.
It's not going to keep them up at night at all.
No. But there's been a lot of different artist renditions of El Cuco. There's even a Universal Studios Hollywood piece of artwork for El Cuco that they did for Hollywood Horror Nights on the article. You guys can see that. But the interesting thing is, they say it's a shapeless, faceless monster. Right. So it changes shape.
Oh, fun!
But this is one of those stories that kids were told at a very young age, and so they grew up and told their kids, El Cuco's going to come get you.
In Mexican culture, I think it translated into the cucuy.
Yeah, it actually says it here on the
right. And that's something that, we're half Mexican here.
Yeah.
That's a story that, we all grew up hearing that, cucuy is going to come get you.
Which translates to the boogeyman.
The boogeyman, exactly.
So it's the Latin American version of the boogeyman.
Right.
So it's widely...
Leave it to our Hispanic heritage to try and scare the crap out of their kids.
Oh yeah,
to get them to do something.
I grew up with grandparents who told stories like that all the time.
Oh yeah.
To us grandkids. So it has phased out somewhat for some families as we get into the modern age, but yeah, growing up, those stories were very prominent.
Oh yeah.
In our childhood. Of course, me being a fan of the paranormal and stuff, it didn't scare me quite as much as some other kids.
I always found them super interesting.
They were really fascinating to me.
Yeah, all the stories.
So,
well, that's always one, a really good one. George Lopez would joke around in his thing that there was always that room that you didn't want to walk by if you had to go down to the hallway.
You had to run down the hallway.
So the cucuy didn't get you.
Just hit the light switch as quick as you could.
Exactly.
There's something about the dark, too. The cucuy's always hiding in the dark, waiting
always.
for you.
Yeah.
Or El Cuco for those in Latin America.
One could argue maybe it was a shadow person hiding in the dark.
Maybe. Or the Hat Man.
The Hat Man, oh God. Yeah.
Another version of the Boogeyman, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I think these all go back around to the same thing eventually.
Yeah.
So the next one we're going to talk about is one that I kind of find entertaining.
Especially if you can look up this next creature on YouTube.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. Yeah.
There's some really crazy videos, and of course you can argue that some of these are probably faked, which they probably are. But there's some out there that are very strange.
Hard to explain.
Yeah. So.
And yeah, definitely for this one in particular, the videos themselves there's some that leave you thinking, I guess.
Yeah.
This one is called El Duende. And there's several different variations of this legend, but no matter where you're from, chances are that this is something that would definitely keep you up at night and scare the pants off of you as a kid. But El Duende is a goblin-like creature, again with an appetite for children.
What is with these creatures
I
eating kids?
know. I don't understand. But hey, I guess if it kept the kids in line,
right?
That's why it's been going on for so long.
The Mexico side of things is really interesting.
Oh yeah, he has a thing apparently in the Mexican culture for clipping unkempt children's toenails, which often leads to the accidental removal of the entire toes.
Yikes.
Yeah, exactly. In other areas of South and Central America, El Duende wanders the forest, where he waits for mothers to walk by holding small children so that he can snatch them away and make a meal out of them. Either way, he doesn't sound like someone you want to hang out with. But yeah, these stories, they're going to scare any little kid.
Oh, yeah.
But again, we're going to maybe add a link of a Duende video.
I'll make sure to add a link in the description for a good El Duende video.
We've seen some interesting ones.
Yeah, if you ever saw films like Trilogy of Terror, think about that when you think about El Duende. They're very small creatures.
Right, little creatures
running across floors very fast.
Looking like little goblins.
And they tend to hide in shadow, and so when you see them, it's a very shocking thing.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, it's in the blink of an eye. But when you slow it down, you see there's something weird in these videos going on.
Oh, yeah.
Especially some of the videos you see coming from other nations, like Latin America. The quality of the video isn't super great, so you gotta imagine if the video's not that great, what kind of editing technique could they possibly have used to make such a realistic looking creature pop on screen?
Definitely.
When they're using older technology, it's strange.
Yeah, it's very strange, and that's, like I said, the biggest thing. I agree with Anthony is that you could say that some things are faked, but I think the things that are faked tend to be much more clear.
Oh yeah,
to where they could easily patch something in rather than old grainy footage that you're wondering. It's leaving you wondering what that was that you just saw.
Yeah.
So so that's the El Duende. The next one,
probably one of the most popular Latin American myths that we could not include in our list. El Chupacabra,
Yep.
very nasty monster who essentially sucks the blood of goats. That's what his big thing is. But he also will suck the blood of children and chickens and anything it can get its hands on, really. It feels like it's a predator who is a predator of opportunity. Whatever he can get his hands on, he'll get. He really became popular in Puerto Rico during the mid-1990s when farmers in the area were getting scared when their livestock was being attacked. They would find little teeth marks, and their animals just drained of blood. No blood was found in the area at all. The Chupacabra supposedly looks like a cross between a dog, a lizard, and a very strange-looking vampire, almost like Nosferatu, almost.
Right. Are there any vampires that aren't strange? Oh, I'm sorry, Twilight.
Yeah, I know what you are.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, unless they're sparkling, vampires themselves are very strange-looking creatures, especially
Allegedly,
yeah.
Allegedly.
But the Chupacabra has been seen in various places, not only across our country but around the world. They've been seen as far as Maine in the United States. They've been seen in Russia, and there's sightings all over the world.
Well, the first sighting was in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's been a lot of different theories on what they could be.
Right.
Even though, this starts in Latin American culture, the draining of blood, with there being no blood at the scene, a lot of UFO theorists wonder if there is an alien connection to this phenomena.
Are they teeth marks, or are they needle marks from some sort of instrument?
Right.
Are they being experimented on? Is the blood being drained? Or you could argue, are vampires themselves, what people think are vampires, some sort of, genetic offshoot of
right,
humanity or some other creature?
Yeah.
Are they an undocumented animal of some sort?
Right.
Or are they a cryptid like UFO or like Bigfoot?
Yeah.
We've talked about, the Yucca Man and Bigfoot before, and the whole concept of them being interdimensional beings. Vampires, the legend of vampires came from somewhere. Someone long, long ago saw something that created this myth. And I always say that myths often have some little kernel of truth in them.
True.
So what that is, I don't know. I don't think it's, Tom Cruise in an interview with a vampire, driving down the highway with Christian Slater.
No.
But there's something weird going on with these livestock attacks.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you. I mean, there's something happening, and I don't know that will ever be determined. But, there is some little bit of truth to it.
Yeah.
What that is, we'll never know.
Right.
Well, the last one that we have on our top 5 list is very infamous.
Right.
So I am sure you're very familiar with La Llorona.
Yeah, this is probably the most popular one.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you that my own grandmother told me this story when I was young.
Of course.
So, this is definitely something that's a popular bedtime tale.
Many people in the U.S. and around the world know this a lot more in recent years because of the very popular horror film set within the Conjuring kind of universe. But that, as good as that film was, in our opinion, the actual legend is super dark. And
oh yeah, I had nightmares about it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Everyone has at some point in their life. The story, if you're in any Latin American family or culture, you're going to hear this story.
Yeah, or you have already a million times over.
Yeah.
Well, the story of La Llorona is that she is the ghost of a woman who drowned her own children to be with the man she loved. Only he didn't actually want anything to do with her. So she was devastated and then full of remorse for what she had done, and she drowned herself in a river. However, her nightmare didn't end there. When she arrived at the gates of heaven, the powers that be demanded to know the whereabouts of her children. And because she was unable to give them a straight answer, they turned her away ordering her not to return unless she had her children with her.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. Harsh.
Yeah.
Heartbroken, she is said to still be wandering the earth today, crying and searching for her murdered babies. And the story goes further to say that, if there are children, this is what we were always told, who were, out after bedtime, and if they heard crying, that meant that La Llorona was going to snatch them to take them away. Right, like once you heard her crying, you were doomed.
Yeah,
so you better stay in bed.
You know what that reminds me of is the Banshee.
Oh yeah,
that's very similar to if you hear the screams of the Banshee, you're marked for death kind of thing. That's the Latin American version of that.
Well, we've always said that a lot of these things, it goes back to alien stories too, and religion and everything else. A lot of stories that are told were based off of, every culture has a version of that story. So I don't think it's any different, with these that we're talking about today, except maybe with the mannequin story, that's very specific. But something like this, I think it's kind of seen. Was another one even on the same list that we'll share that is a very similar story.
Right.
And we recently saw another video where people were going to ghost hunt and they had their own version of a screaming woman.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and find, to put in the information box here, this one video clip of a city. I believe it was in, I'm not sure if it was in Mexico or not, but it was a Latin American city where, there was an abandoned construction building. They were actually under construction. The building wasn't finished, and it was right in the heart of a town. So people started hearing the screams of a wailing woman.
The whole town started gathering around this area because it was so loud. Non-stop
wailing. Yeah. And, the police show up and fire department shows up, and they, are like yelling to the woman to come out and identify. No one comes out, and they were hesitant but go in, and they couldn't find anybody.
Yeah.
But they found this like long white gown in there just on its own. And this is how strong the Latin American culture, how much they believe in some of these urban legends.
Yeah.
Because they could still hear the wailing and they couldn't find the woman. Their first thought is to go to La Llorona, and they actually burned the gown right there at the scene.
Wow. Because
they didn't want to take it with.
Right.
And they didn't want to leave it there, so they figured if we burn it, maybe she'll go away. Wow. So there's video of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and find that to include in this, because the thing about these urban legends, like we've said, is there a little kernel of truth to all of them somewhere? What are they based on?
Yeah.
And if we look at something like this particular one, not a goblin, not a creature like the chupacabra.
Yeah.
In this case, is there a unsettled spirit left behind?
Yeah.
That is, causing this. So,
is this one entity, one spirit of a woman who just is so distraught that she's just doomed to forever be in that pain?
Yeah.
It's interesting because, like Christina said, there is another version of this La Llorona in Venezuela, actually. There's a Venezuelan legend called La Sayona.
Right.
And instead of her having murdered her own children, she's actually the vengeful spirit of a woman who thought that her husband cheated on her with her own mammy, which is very messed up.
Right.
So she's, forced to wander the earth, murdering men who cheat on their novias and wives. So they actually say that this is the version of La Llorona in Venezuela, because she walks around crying and is carrying a baby in her arms. So, of course, I can't find anything about her actually having murdered the baby or drowned it like La Llorona did, but very similar stories. So, like Christina said, there is a kernel of truth somewhere in there.
Right.
There's some poor woman who is in so much pain and turmoil that, people can actually hear her cries, hear her screams. Is this just one woman, or is this story continuously going on because spirits of other women can be heard in distress, and they just say, "Oh, that's La Llorona,"
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, no, that's just another woman named, Marie or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
So,
yeah, all very interesting cases, and we will add as much information to the information box for you guys, and so you can check everything out. And if you have any of your own experiences with any of these urban legends, folk tales, whatever you want to refer to them as,
right.
we always encourage you to contact us and let us know, because we'd love to hear about it.
Any experiences you have with any of these cryptids we mentioned, or any of your own Latin American folklore that you have from your own personal childhood or experiences, let us know. Email us, send us a tweet, direct message us, whatever you have to do.
Yeah.
We're here to listen.
All right, folks. So now we're going to go on to this little special investigative technique that we've told you about.
I'm going to let Christina set this up for herself, because she is actually going to be the one doing the Estes part of this method.
Right.
But I'll explain what the Estes method actually is.
Alrighty, there you go.
So, the Estes method. We discovered the Estes method actually from watching Hellier with Greg and Dana Newkirk, and the session, or the method, was actually perfected by Connor J. Randall and Carl Pfeiffer, who were the part of the team from Hellier. They actually got started doing Spirits of the Stanley, which was where they got to investigate the Stanley Hotel for quite a number of years. And they came up with this method by using a spirit box. We are going to be using the
SB7.
SB7. And what you do is you plug this in to a pair of noise-canceling headphones. So when she puts the headphones on, she can't hear me speaking. I test it out. You'll hear me test it out. I'll say, Christina, Christina, and see if she can hear me. If she doesn't, then I don't know, I'm good to go with the session. What she's going to be doing, she's going to hold the spirit box in her hands while blindfolded and having the noise-canceling headphones on. This creates kind of a white noise effect where she has no other senses coming in that can affect what she thinks she's hearing. The spirit box will be going, are you going to do forward or reverse you want to do today?
I'll go reverse.
We're going to do a reverse spirit box session where it's going to go backwards through the radio stations. At 150 milliseconds, we're going to be putting it in those settings. She'll be completely under, and I'm going to ask questions. The concept is, hopefully we'll get some answers from whatever spirits or entities may be listening, and see what they have to say.
Now, we've done in our very first episode of our podcast a regular spirit box session.
Yes.
At the end of it. And in a regular session, it's plugged into a speaker and you can hear what is coming through the spirit box.
Right.
The difference in the Estes method is that it will be plugged into my earphones and only I will be able to hear it.
Yes.
But the reason this technique was developed by Connor Randall and Carl Pfeiffer when they were working at the Stanley was a different way to try and eliminate any, I guess audio pareidolia that people were claiming that could be a problem with the spirit box. And it turned into an actually really effective technique because you won't be able to hear necessarily, and neither will Anthony be able to hear what I'm hearing in the spirit box. So the idea is to see if the questions that he asks might actually get some direct responses, and I won't know what he's asking.
Right.
So it eliminates any sort of, question on that note.
Now, Christina and I have never experienced this full hand, but there are some people, we have another investigator, Allie, who you may hear in future sessions if we do a live session one day, but who can actually get visual images as well. The concept is that they're whoever is speaking to Christina or whoever's on the line, they're trying to put images as a way of communicating into the listener's head, and they'll visually see it, and which is interesting because we're going to be wearing a blindfold, and so she has no visual input coming in whatsoever.
Right.
So that makes it even more interesting.
Some people are more sensitive and open to that.
Right.
I have seen, flashes of light.
Right.
I have had one vision one time during an Estes method, a very clear picture of driving over a bridge.
Right.
But, for other people, like Allie, she immediately, as soon as she starts,
Right.
she is seeing things and mental pictures. And actually, the other day, I saw someone so clearly she could have described it to
Sketch
a
artist.
sketch artist.
Yeah.
So, we are not at our usual location. We don't know what we'll get here today.
Yeah, we could get nothing. That's the point. We want you guys, when you don't hear me asking questions or Christina saying what she hears, want you guys to listen. Do you hear any EVPs? Do you hear anything strange or out of the ordinary? Let us know in the comments below. We're going to just do our regular session. We'll do 15 minutes, you think?
Maybe 10. We'll
10?
see how it goes.
We'll see how this goes, but we're going to do a session and see what we hear. And we want you guys to let us know what you think in the comments below. So,
and just so that they're aware, I might, even without Anthony asking me questions, I'm going to say whatever it is I'm hearing.
yes.
So I'm just going to say whatever communication is coming across.
Right.
So if you hear me say something without being asked a question, that's why. The idea is to say whatever you're hearing.
Right.
Because you never know what's going to come through.
Of course. And you'll hear me do some thing where I go bing, bing, bing. We found for some reason when we do that multiple times during an Estes method, the listener will actually hear someone say louder, keep going, that's perfect, as if they're responding to the bings in some way. For some reason, it opens them up a little bit more for communication.
And this is something that if you watch Hellier, you'll understand why.
Yeah.
But we won't give that all away.
Well, no,
we encourage everyone to watch the show.
Yeah, go watch Hellier, because we don't want to give that away, but you'll see why that's important if you watch it.
All right, so I'm going to put this all in motion now.
Yep.
And get this started.
All right, here we go, everyone.
Yes, which was the button?
There you go.
Okay.
All right, Christina has now put her blindfold and headphones on. The spirit box is going. She has the spirit box in her hand. Christina, can you hear me? Christina, can you hear me, Chris? Okay, the headphones are working. So I'm going to ask questions now. You guys let me know if you hear anything on your end. Who are we speaking to today? You may be able to hear the spirit box if I put this recorder close enough. Let me know if you hear it. That's what she's listening to right now.
Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Can you hear me again?
Yes, we hear you. Who are we speaking with today? My name is Anthony, and the woman next to me is Christina.
Might have been a help.
How can we help you? What's your name? Bing, bing, bing. Can you tell me where you are?
Can you help me?
I'd like to help you. I'd like to try to help you as best I can. Can you tell me who you are, what your name is? That noise was me just adjusting in my seat, just so you know.
Sounded like maybe Spanish.
How do you say? Habla español? Or habla inglés?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Misty.
If you're new to this channel, to this podcast, we often get communications with my grandparents, my late grandparents, my mother, Christina's.
Are you annoyed?
Parents. No, not annoyed whatsoever. I'm explaining to the listeners who we're speaking to. My grandfather calls my mom Misty. So that if you hear that, typically that's my grandfather trying to communicate. He often travels with us. Grandpa, how are you doing?
Almost sounded like Friday with a question mark.
We are recording on a Saturday, actually. Yep, it's Saturday now. Are you trying to ask if something's going to happen on Friday? Bing, bing, bing.
Are they watching?
If you're talking about the listeners here for our podcast, they are listening right now.
I knew that.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Can I ask how many people are currently speaking to us right now?
I can understand that.
Bing, bing, bing. How many people are here with us?
Oh, okay. First was, are you leaving?
No, we're not leaving.
And then a very deep voice. Couldn't quite catch what it said, but it was very deep.
Okay. Well, if you asked if we're leaving, we're not leaving yet, no.
Thought I heard, hey, Robert.
Is there someone named Robert here?
Cold.
I'm sorry if you're cold.
Hi, Misty. Very deep, though.
Where are you at? Is there a reason you're cold? Are you somewhere where it's cold right now? And Grandpa, hi. We miss you so much, Grandpa.
Almost sounded like Beelzebub.
Beelzebub, huh? Everyone on the podcast, while we respect everyone's belief system, we tend to find that a lot of entities will make claims of the devil or Beelzebub as a way of trying to scare or intimidate. We don't believe, us personally.
Is he on here?
Is who on here? We don't think you're Beelzebub. We don't see a Beelzebub here.
Something about a victim.
Were you the victim of a crime?
I want to say that I feel like I'm in motion.
Okay.
Like I'm rocking or rolling.
Christina, okay, so or is in the process of feeling as if she is rocking right now. We are at a complete still point right now in our car.
Almost sounded like Uncle.
Uncle, huh? Well, I am not an uncle yet, so I'm going to ask, are you someone's uncle? Can you tell me your name so I know who I'm talking to specifically?
Don't crowd me.
If everyone can make sure you give each other enough space.
Felt like she was talking to somebody else.
Right. We get this a lot when a lot of entities try and talk at once.
Henry?
Your name Henry?
Yeah, that was a lot of strange chatter. Like heavy breathing, sighing, high-pitched lecture guy.
For those of you new, there's a specific entity that talks to us named we call Lecture Guy. He won't identify himself yet, but he speaks very differently from the rest of the other voices that we capture. Very old school lecture style, this way of speaking. Lecture Guy, what do you want to tell us?
This is somewhere else.
If you're referring to where we're doing the session, yes, we are in a very different location than normal. Are you able to see us right now?
It's not adequate.
Do you prefer when we do it at our normal location? Is it less busy?
Huh. Sounded like someone said Mothman.
Mothman, huh? So everyone knows we don't go into these things expecting anyone in particular or asking anything in particular. What about the Mothman? Bang, bang, bang.
Something about, what if I'm lost?
I'm very sorry if you're lost. We'd like to help if we can. What's your name? Are we still speaking to Henry?
It's open.
Bang, bang, bang. Is that door open now?
Hiding? I don't care.
What are you hiding from? Or who are you hiding from, I should ask.
Someone said intact and then something else I couldn't understand.
What's intact? We'd like to know who we're speaking to. I'm intact? Yes, yeah, I'm completely intact.
That was lecture guy again. 2,000 tests? And then are you afraid?
I'm not afraid at all. I'm enjoying my conversation with you guys. I'd like to know what you meant by 2,000 tests, however. There are police sirens going by where we're at, just so everyone knows. Police and ambulance sirens.
There's so much happening. Lecture guy came on again and said something real fast. And then I heard, "Hi, Christy." There's a woman talking underneath. That is so low, but you just hear little faint bits of conversation and then a very loud, "Help me."
How can we help you? What is it you need from us? And
The real path.
okay, we'd like to know about the real path. How do we get there?
Walk through.
Where do we have to walk? Bang, bang, bang.
Something about a shoulder, but I don't know the full sentence.
You guys are doing great, but if you can maybe
Hi, Misty.
speak a little
He's
slower.
right here.
Um,
She can.
okay. There's quite a lot of people speaking from what I can understand. My grandparents seem to be here. And lecture guy, but I can't tell who else yet. Hi, Grandma and Grandpa.
Are you listening?
I'm listening. I hear you loud and clear. Well, Grandma and Grandpa, I'm glad you guys could come with us today. Lecture guy, what is it you're trying to tell us? Who needs help? Bang, bang, bang.
I'm hearing chatter. It's just very low.
Right. If you guys could speak up a little bit, that'd be great. We'd love to hear more from you.
So that on heaven.
Are you looking for heaven, or are you speaking to us
right
from
there.
heaven? Are you in heaven? What does heaven look like to you?
Air Force One.
Air Force One?
Maybe. Are you staying here?
We're going to have to go very soon, but when we're not recording this podcast, we can do another session, maybe either tonight or tomorrow. What does Air Force One mean to you?
I'm free.
You're free? Okay, what are you free from?
Not working.
You can talk to us. We want to understand you.
Christy.
Grandma, is that you? That was my grandmother's nickname for my mother. I'm gonna have to get Christina in a minute.
Hold on.
Okay. What would you like to tell us? I don't know if you guys hear anything, but I feel like I'm hearing some sort of talking behind me. That's a motorcycle going by, of course, right now. But let me know in the comments below if you guys hear anything. Bing, bing, bing. Alright.
More information. Very clear. Like our radio broadcast. If you want.
I would like more information, yes.
What's that? Hi, Richard?
Is there someone named Richard here? Is that your name?
In a week?
What's going to happen within a week?
First thing.
Keep going. What do you want to tell us? First thing what? Alright, I'm gonna...
Part of something.
See, this is what always happens when I'm getting ready to bring Christina out of the session.
Right here.
You're right here? Okay.
Hey, baby.
Who am I speaking with? What's your name? Every time I try and bring her out, this is what always happens, is they say something.
Where are you? I don't like it.
What don't you like? My name is Anthony. We're here in Southern California. And Christina is the one next to me with the headphones on. Alright, I'm going to bring Christina out and see if she's ready to wrap up, okay?
Huh. Okay. Well, weird sound at the end here.
Better bring her out now. She's lifting the blindfold.
Please stay. Alright.
There we go. That was
Fun.
very fun.
We should note at this point that when you do this, it can be a little disorienting.
Yes.
When you come out of that state, because it's very you start feeling very trance-like.
Yeah.
And just like that motion feeling that I was feeling.
Yeah.
For some reason, that's very common when you do this.
Right.
That you almost feel like you're rocking back and forth. Or for me, it felt like being in the ocean and the waves moving your body.
Yeah.
And now that I'm out, I don't feel that. But while you're in it, like, it's, and then you come out, it's like disorienting for a little bit.
Every time I tried to pull you out, or was about to pull you out, they kept saying something.
Yeah.
That was like, you couldn't walk away from it.
There was a lot of chatter happening.
Right.
Sometimes when there's that much happening at once, they talk over each other.
Yeah.
And then you can't clearly understand what they're trying to say.
Right.
And then it's those moments where it's just one person talking that you get that clear either response or comment from them. Like as I was coming out, I was getting Harold. I was getting a lot of like different things.
Yeah.
That sometimes we hear some of these like, "Hey, baby."
Yeah.
We hear someone say that.
And to me, sometimes I feel like that may be the residual.
Yeah.
Energy, haunting, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing to me was Letcher Guy, because he made note that we weren't in our usual spot.
Exactly, which is interesting.
So it's like he is watching us, and same with Grandma and Grandpa.
Yeah.
So that was fascinating to me. That the Mothman thing was weird too.
Yeah.
Like I explained to the listeners while you were under, but we don't go into these sessions looking for anyone in particular.
No.
Or anything in particular. We always go into it with an open mind.
Right.
To talk to whoever is here.
And sometimes even like if we set an intention.
Right.
To say, okay, there are certain nights where we're gonna set our intention to really try and hear from my parents, or to hear from Lecture Guy, because Lecture Guy, which we said we would probably end up doing a whole episode on him one day.
Yeah.
He always has these bits of very important information he tries to impart on us.
Yeah.
And things that almost seem timely to what's happening around us today, and the chaos that is the world as we know it right now.
Yeah.
And other things that relate to some sort of testing. And
yeah, he said 2,000 tests to me.
Yeah.
After he was asking, "You're intact or something?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Who's intact?" And he said, "You." And I said,
Right.
"Yeah, I'm intact." And then he said 2,000 tests, and then something else after that I couldn't remember.
Yeah, he was saying a lot of different things, but like I said, he would get cut off, or sometimes talk so fast that you can't quite catch it.
Yeah.
But the voice is the same. But the interesting thing this time around is when I got a very monotone radio announcer type voice that said more information, it wasn't his voice.
Really?
This time it was someone entirely different.
Wow.
And usually we refer to him as Lecture Guy, and I'm sure you explained why.
Yeah.
So... but this one was slightly different.
Huh.
So it was interesting to me that we had someone else who sounded something like that.
Yeah, because like I've explained, the entities that we think are spirits or ghosts, they come across as manipulated, radio kind of sounding voices.
Right.
The Lecture Guy voice and apparently this new voice are very, very different.
Yeah.
They don't sound like they're manipulated from the radio at all.
No.
They don't sound mechanical. So it's very interesting, the like big booming lecture style way of speaking from the 1940s or 50s.
Yeah.
Is a very specific tone. So very interesting.
It was. It's interesting. Like I said, being in a different place entirely. This kind of ties into what we talk about in our first episode with the quantum consciousness.
Right.
And that theory of, if you're not familiar, of that we're actually all of our consciousness sort of connected to one another, and even as people pass on, what we believe is it's energy left behind,
right?
And that the information we store in our brains while we're alive can kind of go out into the atmosphere as energy.
Yeah.
From being that our brains are sort of like a supercomputer and they're electrical, that is the quantum consciousness theory. So in investigation like this, if it's become more clear to us, like it doesn't matter where we are.
Right.
When we do a session, we will have random people come through, and then we'll have people that have come through to us many, many times still come through to us. It doesn't have to be attached to a certain house or location.
No.
Or the people that actually might quote unquote haunt a house don't have to be people who used to be residents there. They can be, but they don't have to be.
Yeah.
They could really, like, we get people come through to us in different languages, and
we've had people who speak Spanish, and we've had people who speak French.
Absolutely.
And some languages we can't even identify.
Right.
So it's really interesting.
We're in California. We've had people who say they're, in Kansas or New York, or it doesn't really matter. We've even had some missing person cases in other states where we've reached out to people. So I find this very interesting, especially knowing that lecture guy could tell we weren't where we normally are.
Yeah, that was very distinctive. I mean, and like I said at the beginning, we don't go into this like normal sessions unless we have an intention at the beginning. We don't have a specific person in mind.
No.
So I was just doing this to show you guys what the Estes method was like. And it's fascinating that lecture guy apparently followed us here.
Yeah.
And was able to speak to us somehow.
And my parents,
my grandparents. I made note. It's really fascinating that there are certain individuals who seem connected to you personally, who tend to speak.
Right.
So, and I've seen some younger people try and make this claim that people themselves are haunted. They're haunted.
Yeah.
But I think that with spirits, or even whoever lecture guy is, energy is free moving. And I think that unless that energy attaches itself to an object or a place for some reason, they can come and go as they please, like Christina said. So,
and they can maybe gravitate towards certain people. Like, for whatever reason, lecture guy feels like he has something he's trying to tell us.
Right.
Which, like I said, his communication is always in the form of some sort of message that he's trying to get across.
Yeah.
We don't know that we're the only people he tries to tell. For all we know, he could try and tell other people as well.
No, we don't
think who listens, but he does repeatedly come back to communicate with us. So, my parents, obviously, it makes sense to why they connect with, us. But, energy can go anywhere, just like radio waves, sound waves, electrical waves, everything.
We've even had some instances where we get responses that they seem to indicate that they're not even fully gone or dead.
Right.
Or spirits at all. Some have claimed that they're remote viewing, which has been really interesting.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't something we really took into consideration at first, but there are people who kind of make the claim that they're remote viewing. They're like, who are you? Kind of thing.
Right. It's almost like we've said in the past, feeling like being in the movie The Others, where there are times we're doing a session and it sounds like there's a group of investigators on the other side going, did you hear that?
Yep.
Oh, they can hear us or they can see us.
Yep.
And like, we're the spirits and they're investigating us, which is a real trip to think about. So, whether something like this allows us to speak to those people that have passed on, or there's the whole parallel universe theory.
Right.
Is there somebody else in another timeline that's hearing what we're doing and vice versa? People even theorize are those from another planet may be able to hear us and vice versa.
I wondered that, especially with lecture guy, because we're tapping into, the radio signals and airwaves, and if a higher intelligence was able to kind of hijack that signal, kind of thing, and get into that signal. I mean, like you said, lecture guy, whoever or whatever he is, seems to have a message of some sort that he or she or whoever they are is trying to convey. For like today, the 2000 test thing was weird.
Yeah.
Saying whoever said, next week.
And we
first
get
thing.
ominous stuff like that all the time from him. Or even before, when the pandemic first started, there was a lot of stuff that came through from this particular voice that seemed like they were trying to tell us, we got for weeks, before it happened, get ready, and something's coming, and different things that after the fact, when things happen, you're like, oh, and wow.
There's even one point in March where lecture guy said something about still there in June.
Yep.
And then, June has come and gone, we're still here. I mean, again, it could just be synchronicity. It could just be, things adding up or lining up, or it could be something more. We don't know. We don't claim to have all the answers, but it's very interesting, and I think that's why this method is so good to have on hand for investigations.
Absolutely, and I like to have the regular spirit box method as well.
Right.
It's nice sometimes to see them play off each other, because we have an exterior speaker for our spirit box where we have a splitter cable,
right,
to where we can actually have the earphones plugged in and the speaker, and you can hear simultaneously what's being said on the spirit box between what, say, my reaction would have been. So
sometimes you even get different wavelengths, to where the person who's doing the Estes method side of it will hear something, and then we'll have the splitter cable letting us hear what the spirit box sounds like, and it sounds like something completely different is being said.
Right. And once you do one of these, you can kind of tell too, there are lots of layers to this. You'll hear something that's loud and clear at the forefront, but underneath it you'll hear something that sounds really far away of someone trying to talk. And we've even had people who seem like they're fighting to get to the front.
Yep.
To try and be the one to talk next. So
as if they're in line for something.
Right.
Like they're in line to talk to us almost.
Someone saying, move over, or that person's up front.
You said it right today, don't crowd me.
Don't crowd me.
So, I mean, it feels like they're all trying to talk at once and they're crowding each other.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. I mean, fascinating technique, I think. And I think that you guys will, if you guys want it, we would like to do a live session and maybe multiple sessions on video.
Yeah.
So if you'd like that, let us know in the comments, or tweet us or Instagram us, whatever. Tag us, and we'd like to share that with you guys. So
yeah, absolutely.
I hope you guys enjoyed that.
Yes, and again, share any story requests maybe, or stories of the Latin American urban legends that maybe you have knowledge of or experience with.
Right.
And we'll hope to have a new episode up very soon and do more of these sessions with you.
If you definitely want us to do a whole episode on Lecture Guy,
yes,
let us know, because
I have tons of audio.
We have a lot of evidence we could share with you guys of what he sounds like, and
yep,
the things he's had to say have been very interesting, to say the least.
To say the least, yes.
Especially the whole Mothman thing today, coming out of nowhere, was like,
yeah, that was. We've had him say MK Ultra before, so we may have to post a lot of clips to YouTube very soon.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and stay tuned, because we have a lot more to come.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week for a brand new episode. Till then, this is Anthony and
Christina,
and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.